Your first day of turning the microphone on. You'll be well prepared to start your first day of high school at the Atascocita High School on a positive note. Everyone yell yay! Inside this briefcase, I have perhaps the most important tool that you'll need to begin your first day of high school. Would you like to see what it is? I appreciate the enthusiasm. I'll give you a hint. It's probably not what you think it is. It is, of course, a ladder. And this is perhaps the most important tool for high school. Because to go through high school, you need a ladder to climb high. This is, of course, an absurd joke. However, it does point to the truth. It said that in order to have what we have never had, we must be willing to do what we have never done. In order to achieve success at a higher level, we have to be willing to step up to the challenge. In other words, what got you into this room is not going to be what keeps you here. I can still remember when I was 12 years old, I did my very first magic show. And this was a big deal, because when I was a little kid, my biggest, most wildest dream was to one day become a magician. I brought with me one of those magic tricks that I performed on the first time I did a magic show. Would you like to see it? Yeah. Oh yes. I was hoping you'd say that. Otherwise, this would be a very short magic show. I used this little box. I was just 12 years old. A very similar situation till today. I was out of school. There was only about 100 or so people around. But I used this box that I made myself. Perhaps you can tell. It says Magic Show. Pretty good for a 12-year-old. And inside the box, I had some playing cards. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. I placed one of them away. And even though I placed one of them away, I still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. Everyone was so amazed, they were stunned silent, just like this. Perfect. And then all at once, everyone threw their hands up in the air and they said, "That's amazing!" That's amazing! Well, that was very good. That was very good for several of you. I saw the hands. I heard the words. For those of you who didn't participate, I don't blame you. You didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know your role yet. So I'll tell you what, we're going to do this again. But this time, I'm going to tell you a slightly different story. Because when I was 12 years old, I did my first professional magic show that I was paid for. So if you're getting paid, you're a pro, right? But that wasn't my first show for a real audience. My first show for a real audience was for my family in my parents' living room. And I was just 6 years old. Did my very first magic show for a real audience when I was 6 years old. I didn't even know how to spell yet. Spelled magic with a J. And there was only about 10 or so people gathered around. And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, little tiny 6-year-old hands. And I placed 1 and 2 cards inside the box. And yet, I still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. Everyone threw their hands up in the air and they said, "See, this is getting much better. This is much better. I'm seeing the hands, I'm hearing the words. There's just one thing we're lacking. We need a little more of that eagle spirit in here." Alright? So I want to do this one last time, but this time we're going to get a little more excited. But I want to tell you a slightly different story. Because that was my first magic show for a real audience when I was 6 years old. But that wasn't my first actual magic show. You see, my first actual magic show was in my bedroom for my stuffed animals. And I was just 3 years old. I didn't even know how to make words yet. I just scribbled all over the box. I had about 5 animals gathered around. And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 humongous cards, little tiny 3-year-old hands. And I placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards away. I was only 3. I didn't know how to count yet. So of the 5 cards, I put 9 of them away. And yet, I still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, and when all the cards disappeared, everyone was so amazed that all the stuffed animals said, "Give yourselves a nice taste." So that's a true story. It's a true story. But notice how over the years, with all the magic shows that I did, when I was 3, when I was 6, when I was 12, I never stopped improving. I never stopped getting comfortable just performing for stuffed animals, just performing for my family. I kept growing outside of my comfort zone so I could climb higher up that ladder. Because it's been said that in order to have what we've never had, we must be willing to do what we have never done. Because the same things that got you folks into this room today, it's not going to keep you here. In fact, it's kind of like being hypnotized. Have any of you been hypnotized before? Some of you, I hear some yeses, a lot of no's. If you haven't been hypnotized, or even if you have, especially if you have, you probably know that it's not some weird altered state of reality. All hypnotism is, it's a deep-seated willingness to play along. Well, to show you what hypnotism is kind of like, I brought with me a magic wand, and this is my special magic wand. Everyone go. I heard someone say it is indeed a spiral. The technical name for this device, this is called the hypno-disc. Everyone say it with me, hypno-disc. This was invented as an effective tool for inducing a hypnotic type state. If you're willing to play along, and I encourage all of you to do so, because this will perhaps be one of the coolest things you see today, but it will only work if you want it to work. It's only going to work if you're willing to play along. As I turn the disc, just stare right here at the center of the hypno-disc, and breathe calm, and breathe deep. For those of you who begin to fall under the spell of the disc, you may experience the visual expansion of the world around you. Don't worry, that is completely normal. As I count backwards from 3 to 1, when I get to 1, you will look away from the disc, and you will look me in the eyes. 3, 2, 1, look me in the eyes. Something just now. Who experienced something? Several of you did. If you didn't experience something just now, well, that's fine, because you probably did something similar to what I did when I was 9 years old. You see, when I was 9 years old, I was in 4th grade, and I started taking saxophone lessons, and I was so good that my music teacher, Mrs. Megan, invited me to skip 2 grade levels in music so I could play with the 6th grade band. Now this was a big deal because little 4th grader hanging around with all the 6th graders, you know, I felt really cool, right? With all the older kids. So I remember on the first day of class, with all the older kids, I sat down in my chair, I got my saxophone ready, and put the music stand down. The teacher put the sheet music on the stand. And I just froze. And I froze because there were notes on that sheet music that I had never even seen or heard of before. Do you play music? Any of you play music?
Yeah!
Several of you do.
Yeah, Tommy! Yeah!
So you might understand what I was going through just starting out to play the saxophone, and all of a sudden I'm seeing notes that I'd never heard of before. Not only could I not keep up, I couldn't even get started. I went through that whole class without playing a single note. So the next day, for band class again, I couldn't go back to class that day. And the reason I couldn't go back is because I had forgotten my saxophone at home that morning. But the truth is, I didn't really forget my saxophone. I left it there on purpose. And I left it there on purpose so that I didn't have to go back into that room. So I didn't have to feel uncomfortable again. Because the same things that got me into that room with all of those older kids wasn't going to be what was going to allow me to stay there. So I left. And to this day, I always wonder what might have been, what would have been, if only I was more willing to step up and rise above those challenges. Because the same things that got us into this room aren't going to keep us here. In order to achieve success at a higher level, we have to be willing to do something we have never done before. In other words, to soar as an eagle, we have to step up. And speaking of stepping up, I'd like to invite 4 of you to step up now. Very diverse audience members from various parts of the room. Let's go to participant number 1. What's your name?
Dylan.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dylan. Give Dylan a nice round. And what's your name? Zach. And Zach? This is everyone? And Zach. And your name? With the marker and with the piece of paper, you're going to write down, without letting anyone else see what you write down, not me, not anyone in the audience, and not even each other, so you have to keep it a secret, right? You're going to write down the name of the club, the name of the organization, the name of the sport, perhaps, that you're going to participate in, the one that you're most excited, because you're probably going to do a lot of different activities, but the one that you're most excited about. I'm going to turn around now, and you may begin writing. Now here's the idea. I'm sure some may know these folks up here. By round of applause, who knows them? Who knows these folks? Several of you, all right. So you all have friends. So you would probably have a good chance of figuring out what activity they want to participate in. However, if you don't know them, it's going to be harder. I just met them, so it's going to be really hard for me to figure out what club, what organization they belong to. There's 2 ways to do this. Number 1, I could just ask them, what did you write down? That was one way. It's not the exciting way. But the more exciting way is to look into the eyes. Because it's said that the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? I'm going to look them in the eyes and try and figure out what they wrote down. Now, once you have everything written down, did you finish writing? Yes. All right. Once you have, if you can pass all the markers down to, is it Dylan on this side? Yeah. Pass all the markers down to Dylan. And who's at the far? Renata? Who is it? Renaya. Renaya. Pass all of the activities down to Renaya. And Renaya, once you have, just sort of give them a little mix. And Dylan, once you have the markers, give the markers a little mix. And I'm going to turn back around now. I'll take back markers. Thank you very much. And Renaya is going to help us out. She's going to hand me the very first activity. Any activity at all. Let's see. We have lacrosse. This is the first activity. And I have to figure out who this belongs to. Looking into their eyes. But to make this even more fun, I'm going to ask all 4 of you if this is your activity. And even if it's not your activity, you're going to give me the same you're going to say, "Oh, that is so me." Even if it's not yours. So you're going to lie to me 3 times. I have to figure out when you're telling the truth. Renaya, is this your dream?
Oh, that is so me.
As she says with a smirk. Courtney, is this yours?
Yeah, totally.
I'm sensing more like a perhaps theater or drama club for you. All right, let's try Zach. Is this yours?
Oh, that's so mean.
He does not hide it in the least. All right, Dylan, is this yours?
Oh, that is so me.
It's the same. The same. I have no idea who to give this to then. I'm just going to give this, I might be wrong, so don't give me any clues if I'm right or if I'm wrong. I'm going to give this to you for now. I might change my mind, so just hang on to it for now. May I have the next dream, please? Right, we have swimming. So this person would like to participate in swimming. This side, Dylan, is this yours?
Oh, that is so me.
He says it the same way every time. Is this yours?
Oh, that's so mean.
I'm still not excited to be here yet. We're gonna get there.
Oh, that is so me.
Is this yours? She's going off script. I love it. I love it. This is challenging because I'm getting nothing from any of you. I'm usually can get this a little better. I'm just going to give this to Dylan for now. Don't give me any clues if I'm right or wrong. I might want to change. May I have the next one, please? Okay, Patriots. That's where we have the Eagle spirit. There we go. All right, so this one, let's start out at the end. Is this yours?
No.
Just take it. All right. I think there should be one more. Can we have the last one, please? Oh, dance. Okay, dance. This is dance. This person. Dylan, I know this is yours. All right. Dylan, is this yours?
No.
It's very adamant. Again, going off script. I love it. It's getting exciting. Zach, is this yours?
Maybe.
I'm tempted to give it to you, Zach. I can see you as a dancer. Is this yours?
Yeah.
Are they always like this? Is this yours?
No.
No. All right, this. Remember, you're supposed to lock. This is tough because I do want to give this to Zach because I think you would make it. But before I say this is my final answer, just turn them so everyone can see what you wrote down. All right, I am going to make a switch before I have my final answer. Zach, Courtney, if you could just switch, please. Give a little switch. All right, I think I did a pretty good job. What do you think? I hope so. I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1, and when I get to 1, if you are holding your dream, and only if you're holding your dream, you will place your dream organization down, and you will have a seat and accept a big round of applause. If you are not holding your dream, please have a seat anyway. We have to keep the day going. I'm kidding. If you don't have yours, please stay up and we'll try and figure out where we went wrong. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yes! Let's give her a nice big hand. Before we get going to the rest of the day, I'd like to give you folks one big suggestion for not only for as you're going about today, but how the next 4 years. Today is your opportunity to really make the most of today. You could get through this day by putting your head down and just waiting for it to be over. or you can choose to get involved. And if nothing else, what I really encourage you to do, reach out to someone you've never met. Studies have shown that the happiest people are resilient people. And these are the people who are able to overcome obstacles. They're able to overcome adversity and challenges. And the most resilient people of all are people who have fostered meaningful connections with their friends, with their peers, with their teachers, with their coaches. So I encourage you, as you go about today, reach out to someone you don't know, someone you've never met. You might just find your new best friend, someone who you can make amazing memories with. Make a connection with a teacher. Make a connection with a staff member. You might just find a mentor who can help you get through these next 4 years and reach your biggest potential. And with that in mind, I have one final challenge for you. Do you have good eyesight? I hear a lot of yeses and a lot of no's. Let's start with someone in the front row. Folks in the front row, can you read this? You're right up front, so you should be able to. Let's go to someone all the way in the back. All the way in the back. Can you folks read these letters? All right, so you can read them. Now you're going to try and recite memory. Now I know this wasn't fair because I didn't tell you you're going to have to recite them from memory. I just said you're going to have to read them. But in order to recite them, you have to first know what they are. We're just going to take 3 minutes, and this is the last thing before we move on. You're going to break up, just wherever you are, turn to the person next to you. If the person next to you turns to someone else, just turn to that person anyway. You'll join their group. Groups of 2 or 3. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to give you 2 minutes and find a way to recite this from memory. I'm going to give you a hint. If we ask, can you do this? Do it. But if we ask, how can you do it? And begin. And time. I know that was quick. That was quick. And I did get to speak to several of you, and I heard some very useful suggestions. And I will give you that hint again. If we ask, can I do this? If you ask, can you succeed in doing something new? Well, a lot of times the answer is going to be no, because it's your first time. But if we ask the higher quality question, how can I do this? That gives us a chance, because the first question, can I do it? It stops us before we even start, because it has inherent doubt. But the question, how can I do this? That presumes there is a way, and we only need to find it. One person has a photographic memory, very nice, that's gonna help. Someone, he took a picture of it, that's a photographic phone. Well, that works too, I guess. Another group suggested, if it was a group of 4, they each just memorize one of the lines. Someone says it repeats. We look for patterns. I'm going to give you the answer to this now. How do we learn the alphabet as kids? We turn it into a song. We can do the same thing here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. There's a technique in music where you take one song and you turn it into another song. And if we look closely, you realize you already have this memorized. You see, the ABC song is also the same melody to Twinkle, Little Star.